All right, welcome to the last program of today. 11 programs in one day, the big give. Thank you all for watching some of our riveting programs throughout today. And we've left the best for last with a program on chess. And the idea came up because of the success of Queen's Gambit, the Netflix series that was very popular last year. And today we are joined by Shawn Noland with High Touch Technologies, his son Quentin, and our intern, Rachel Martin. And we're just going to have a little conversation here with Shawn as he plays chess, both with Quentin and Rachel. Let's start off as you begin the game. What is chess?
Chess to me is it's a sport, it's an art. It's really a metaphor for life, really. And it's just, it's been something that I've been able to really sync up with the rest of my life, whether that's business or whether that's decisions that I needed to make or strategies or things like that.
And how far back does chess go? Are we talking hundreds of years or?
Oh, well, back to AD 500. Roughly, India is where they believe that the rules of the game have pretty much stayed the same, with the exception of a couple rules that about the year 1500 changed, and that's been it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's no way of beating the board in a sense that if you know all the games in your head and all the visions that you have, there's still opportunity to lose. There's
Absolutely.
no way of perfecting the game.
I don't think so. I know at some point they feel like that computers will perfectly play the game out, and that if white plays their best possible moves and black plays their best possible moves, that it would be a draw. But humans aren't computers, and so there's always going to be that bad day at the office, so to speak, or your mind's elsewhere, or you're not feeling well, or you forget a variation. Unless you can memorize millions upon millions upon millions of moves, it won't be played out. And that's the competitive side of it.
And while you're speaking with us, is it what you're doing, is it common to be able to play two different games at the same time?
Yes, it is. There'll be several players, especially like your world champion, your current world champion, who's played 15 games blindfolded at once. So with no sight of the board, just being able to memorize the boards and call out, as you can see, these numbers and letters on the board that basically denote where the pieces move. Like this is knight to F3. So calling out knight to F3 without sight of the board, able to remember the 15 boards and beat all 15 competitors. So,
Shawn, where does your fascination with chess come from?
it's a great question. Bobby Fischer was the world champion, the really only official American world champion in the early 1970s. My father brought home some chess pieces and set the board up around that time, and I learned the moves of the game and had some early successes in some tournaments, I guess, that spurred me to continue to play. And it's been a lifelong passion for sure.
Is it somewhat of a stress relief for you, like people who run or people who, does it take away some of the everyday struggles that one can go through?
Absolutely. I think so. And it also is, not only that, but it can give you the idea of just being able to, or the ability, I should say, to be able to concentrate, and the idea is to be able to overcome problems. Chess being a lot like life, you can, as my son can attest to in tournaments, you can play a 4.5-hour game and it can be a perfect game. And you make one slip up and 4 hours and 31 minutes and you lose the game. And I think life can be similar with living really well, and then all of a sudden making a silly or stupid decision that impacts the rest of your life. So maybe not to that drastic degree, but certainly there's some connections there. And that's what we try to teach kids that learn to play the game as well, is just those consequences for actions.
Let's elaborate a little bit on that as you're, by the way, who is winning? Can you tell from the beginning of who's ahead?
Well, I would say in this game, white has a definite space advantage and pieces are a little bit better developed. Certainly by no means is the game decided. There's some strategies that would need to be implemented here. In this game here, we're in a really common opening sequence of the French defense, actually. And similar to the Queen's Gambit, where Beth and Queen's Gambit played the Sicilian a lot, the pawn structure is the same. It's actually transposed into a French. But yeah, this game here is just early on, and it's just maneuvering for a better board position at this point. I'm always confident in my ability to win, but you have to be.
And speaking of winning, you are ranked nationwide and around the world. What is your ranking?
It varies. At one point, I did crack the top 1,000 in the US in bullet chess, which is 1 minute chess. I've been ranked in the top 100 in the world. But yeah, just it varies. I've nationally ranked, which I guess I can say is pretty cool, and I'd like to be higher, but when you work full time and don't study, you're not able to play chess 8 hours a day, that does happen.
Got it. Let's let you were talking about strategies and everyday life. Can you elaborate a little bit about how you have used, you work for High Touch Technologies, which is one of our partners. We use High Touch for our IT services.
Thank you.
But how have you used, or how can one use the skills that you attain from chess in everyday life?
I would go back to the part about concentration for sure. No question that being able to concentrate and focus on an end task is certainly an important piece of chess. Defining a clear goal and having a plan. I know many times in life people will drift without a plan exactly of what they're doing. Very similar to a chess game. Sometimes you'll find yourself playing without a plan. You just kind of are moving the pieces. So planning, realizing that if I do this, this may happen. I think that's a huge piece of being able to coach and work with people, and it helps develop intuition. So those things, I think.
Now you were talking about the youth component to it. You started and you founded the Hill Country Chess Club, which is teaching youth to play chess. Tell us how you came up with that and what are the needs of this club? And I know the pandemic had an impact on it.
It did. In 2005, roughly, we were out living in the Hill Country. So out in Bernie, Texas. I know you know the area well, but we were living in Bernie, Texas, and I founded Hill Country Chess. It was really just doing a lot of tournaments for kids. It wasn't just for kids, but it turned out that 99% of the people that did show up were kids. And so it turned into more teaching, coaching, developing those life skills for children. And then having at 1.7 full-time students that I did one-on-one instruction with. Yeah, that's really how that developed. And now I'm in the middle of looking again at some building options to rejuvenate it when probably once we get through the pandemic and we know where we're headed with that, it'll be kicked back up again with hopefully a facility and more tournaments.
I know there was a book that I was recently reading, part of our book club program actually. They talked about backgammon there, and there was a conversation in there of which is a better game strategically speaking. Do you have any opinions about that? Chess or backgammon?
Well, I'm not a backgammon player. I know that I can't tell you the number of moves or number of options in a backgammon game, but I'm not going to be far off when I say there are more there's more possible chess moves after move 4 on a chessboard than there are atoms in the universe. So to me, that would kind of say, from a strategy and opening standpoint, and no dice involved, right? That I would think that it's got to be more of a more difficult game. So, but no offense to backgammon players, which I know you played in the backgammon tournament, so you were setting me up there.
And the key word there is that I played. That's and no one really needs to know if I lasted the first round or not. But let's kind of dive into the Queen's Gambit. That kind of, I don't know if there was any other time in history where it was mainstream. Chess became a mainstream game, so to speak. How close was the series to real life chess, and what chess players experience?
I think from the experience of chess players in terms of the nerves and fighting yourself and your tendencies and all of those things you think about at the board, very, very accurate as far as the moves of the game, as far as the board setup, all of the things that, I mean, there were Kasparov, the ex-world champion, and another master, Bruce Pandolfini, who was also the coach for Searching for Bobby Fischer, the coach for the young kid in Searching for Bobby Fischer. They did a lot of the editing and production and looking at the chess scenes. You can't talk to players at a chess tournament. You don't trash talk, so to speak, at a chess tournament like they did in the.
It's not like MMA or anything.
No, nothing like that. But it'd be, maybe they'll develop to that in one day. I hope not, but it's been, that'd be the only thing I'd say that was off. But that's obviously developed for film and movies. But it was a great series, and I've watched it too many times to admit. So.
And it also brought up the role of women playing chess, which was not traditionally. Is that depicted correctly as far as the gender gap in chess playing?
Yes, absolutely it was, especially then in the 50s and 60s. Now it's a lot more common to see young girls, women and females in tournaments. There's a lot of youth players that are extremely strong players that play, and for some reason they continue to have, and my daughter and I debate this, and we agree it shouldn't be this way, but they continue to have titles for the female players, like women's international master, women's grandmaster, and I'm hoping they'll have a day where you're a grandmaster, you're international master, it doesn't matter as far as the sex is concerned, but it certainly would have been a really odd sight to see not only kids but women at tournaments in the 50s and 60s. So that was depicted very well.
And it's also, it can be a lucrative hobby, can it not, as far as winning competitions?
Absolutely, yeah. The top prize is usually at the World Open in Philadelphia in the 4th of July. And then I've had the opportunity to play out there a couple of times. I've played out there a lot more times, but first prize there is like $20,000 in this open section. The current world champion, Magnus Carlsen, and all of the top 10 players in the world are multimillionaires. Hikaru Nakamura from the US, he's born here, has been one of the top speed chess players in the world. He's been on an episode of Billions, that series. His net worth is somewhere around 30 million. So there's definitely, Bobby Fischer really set the tone for that. He started getting better tournament conditions and doing those things for chess that others wanted to do. So
is that from sponsors?
Sponsorship, yes, a lot of sponsorship, and just the prize money in general. There's more interest in the game, and with the pandemic and Queen's Gambit, there are now more chess memberships for the United States Chess Federation than any time in history. So
wow,
it's really pretty cool to see if you're a chess player.
How are we doing, by the way, with the two games?
This game over here is looking pretty good for white. Picked up a couple of pieces. This game over here is highly tactical and complex, like Quentin likes to make it. But I'd also give white better chances over here too. So he may have something to say about that in the next few moves. But
And full disclosure, Rachel has not particularly played chess before.
that's correct.
She's competing against a world ranked chess player. So
And she played very well early on, no question. So developed her piece as well. And I can see she had some plans of attack too. So
what
it's not
are
an easy game, that's for sure.
is it like any other game where is there an innate quality as far as chess is concerned, and does practice make perfect in a sense?
That's a great question. You know, I think anything that you do, and you can look at the 10,000 hours idea, right? But anything that you do and do hopefully over and over and over again, you're getting better at. But there's certainly an innate ability in chess, and part of that is having an incredible memory to be able, as we talked earlier, to memorize so many different variations and moves and pattern recognition. Some people are just better at mathematics and better at drawing and doing those things innately than others are. So without a question, there's innate ability, but also without a question, I think just about anyone can get to a C class or B class level with enough hard work. After that, there's probably a lot of intuition, competitiveness, and some other things that you either probably have or don't have.
Do you have, as chess players, and make Quentin, you're welcome to chime in if you want, but do you, when you're laying down in the Queen's Gambit, you see that she is seeing the board on the ceiling and on walls, and is that typical for those who are actively playing daily?
Well, maybe it was for her from the green pills. You know,
Right.
I think more that was really metaphorically also just something that she really didn't have anything, right? And in an orphanage, and figured out the game and understood the game, and it just got underneath her skin. And chess does do that. It gets, when you're in a tournament, you certainly, after playing 8 hours a day, go and sleep and see the visions of the games in your head, especially if it was a 5-hour game and you lost. You could see it over and over and over again, and it's hard to get to sleep because you know you're playing the next day for sure. That would be checkmate here. Cool. Well, she's like, I'm ready to get that over with.
Tell us, as we're winding down, tell us a little bit about the club for the Hill Country Chess Club. Clearly, the pandemic had its impact on playing games, but once it's up and running, could anyone apply? What's the age range? Who do they contact?
Yeah, contact information would be for me. The website is now in design again, so we're redoing that. It'll be hillcountrychess.com. Anyone is able to play and participate. Age is not a factor at all. So hopefully we have players from the age of 5 or 6 on up to, you know, my age and older. I know that the youngest grandmaster was just crowned 2 months ago, 12 years old. So the youngest
Wow.
in history beat the record. So players just continue to excel at a younger and younger and younger age at this game, which is mind-boggling to me, but it's also really cool. So yeah, that's all. I'll be putting that up and having the site ready, and hopefully be getting some students and starting that up again when this pandemic is all figured out.
Great, great, and we'll be sure to add that link to the
To the new World
website.
Affairs Council website. Right.
Well, so why did it play such a key role during the Cold War?
Oh, that's huge, because you had at a time where the two superpowers, Russia and the United States, were maybe on the verge of nuclear war, or vying for that just dominance of the world. And then you had the Russian chess conglomerate, who had never been defeated and really just had the market cornered, so to speak, on chess. And you had an American, Bobby Fischer, who broke in to that circle and was able to single-handedly beat the best Russian chess players in the world. He even learned the Russian language. And in Queen's Gambit, that is really who Beth is portraying, is Bobby Fischer. So the learning of the Russian language, the beating the Russians at their game, that's all, you know, and it was written by Walter Tevis around that time frame or after, you know, Bobby Fischer had done that. So that's the really where we see that.
And you touched upon it a little bit earlier about using it in everyday life. Have you proactively utilized the skills you have obtained from chess in your work as an IT sales tech?
I think so. I think more from a standpoint of trying to build, in being a sales executive, there's a lot that goes into it. And it's really a balancing act between needing to sell your service and product, but also making sure that the people you sell your product and service to have a need for it. And so finding out upfront, almost like a plan and a strategy, who those clients would be, why would they be good clients, and how it's going to benefit them. And so really setting that up on the front end is a huge piece of developing a plan for high touch. And that's certainly, I'd like to say chess has helped to do that. Sometimes I think I probably take it for granted and don't know what it's even really helped me do until I get questions like that and say, yeah, that's probably more innate for me than someone else maybe.
Why don't we finish up by talking about high touch technologies? You do their sales, of course. That's how we got introduced. What sort of services does high touch provide?
High touch provides a myriad of services. We do anything from your IT monthly, I guess what we'd call our managed services, where that's making sure that all of your environment is set up to handle traffic, stop cybersecurity threats, make sure everything is safe, especially as we've had more and more people working from home. You don't know what might be on some of those computers or laptops that travel back and forth. We certainly live in a society today where that's just a part of it. You've got to, you know, block that. So that's a big piece of what we do. We also sell hardware. We sell software. We do have website design. There are a lot of things at hightouch.com that you can look and see, but anything pretty much IT we do. And that's even from restaurant services that we do with point of sale systems, et cetera.
All right. Quentin, Rachel, any parting thoughts of Quentin? What made you get involved in chess and stick with it? Because sometimes, you know, your dad or someone could convince you to play, but you don't really stick with it. What made you continue playing?
I remember from the time I was 4 or 5, just moving the pieces around and always just being very interested in it. So I guess just a natural interest in the game. I always had fun going to tournaments and traveling with dad and mom, and it was a really good experience. And I'm glad I picked it back up.
Great. Rachel, do you think you're going to play again after this experience?
Well, I mean, I enjoyed doing it when I was little and just haven't really done it in over 10 years. But yeah, I like chess.
We're going to look at speed chess. Shawn, you were talking about speed chess earlier.
Yes.
What is speed chess? And then ready, set, go after that.
The technical definition of speed chess is any game that I think is under 10 minutes. And as you can see here by the clock, each side has 5 minutes to complete the entire game. If you run out of time, you lose, regardless of whether you're winning on the board or not. So it's just really, and it's done a lot to make you better at tactics and trying to checkmate really quick. So that's what it can be used for. And it's just a fun side event that it's probably more interesting for people to watch on the outside than a slow 2-hour game. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing here.
All right.
I'll punch my clock and we'll get started.
Dang, that was pretty awesome. That was very impressive. Wow,
Yeah, he had me early on. Made a mistake.
that is really cool. Wow.
He's been very close to beating me in a couple of tournaments in real games. We actually got paired in a tournament. So I was probably more nervous than he was, knowing I should win and feeling that pressure.
We have been talking to Shawn Noland with High Touch Technologies, one of our partners, and we are one of their clients using their IT support. I really appreciate all of you for tuning in and allowing us to really present 11 programs in one day for the day of the Big Give. This program is the last one we're doing today, and we really appreciate all the support and the donations, and any amount of gift is appreciated, whatever is significant to you. And be sure to look up High Touch Technologies and also the Hill Country Chess Club. And thank you all for joining us today and appreciate your support.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate it, Armin. Thank you.